Hey everyone, so let's talk about a question that I think is on a lot of our minds. What is a six-figure salary really worth? You see that shiny $100,000 number, but then taxes and the cost of living take their chunk. And trust me, when you see how it all shakes out across America, the results are, well, they might just surprise you. For so many people, hitting $100,000 a year is this huge milestone. It's that magic number that kind of screams success, stability, maybe even the American dream. It really feels like you finally made it. But here's the reality check, right? That six-figure number on your job offer isn't what lands in your bank account. And it's definitely not what it feels like when you're paying for rent or groceries or just filling up your gas tank. The real value is a much, much more complicated story. So the very first cut from your paycheck, it's always the tax bite. And right away, where you live plays a massive role. Because, yeah, everyone pays federal tax, but state taxes, they can make a world of difference. Okay, so before we even get to the states, let's just set a baseline. No matter where you are, you're paying federal income tax and you're paying payroll taxes for Social Security and Medicare. That's a 7.65% cut just for payroll, plus whatever your federal bracket is. All said and done, your 100K is instantly a lot closer to $78,000. So let's use that as our starting point. At first glance, the obvious winners seem to be these 9 states, right? The ones with no income tax. You think, hey, I'll just move there and keep that whole $78,736. It seems like a total no-brainer. But as you'll see, the story is not that simple. And I mean, the initial difference is pretty dramatic. Look at this. In a no-tax state like Texas, you pocket the full amount, but head over to Oregon, which has one of the highest state tax rates, and your take-home pay plummets to just over $70,000. That's an $8,000 difference every single year. But remember, take-home pay is only one piece of this puzzle. And this is where the story gets a really fascinating twist. The real cost of living. Because, look, the amount of money you have is one thing, but what that money can actually buy you, well, that's the great equalizer.
So to figure this out, we use something called the Cost of Living Index, or COLI. It sounds technical, but it's actually pretty simple. The national average is set at 100, so if a state has a COLI of 120, it's 20% more expensive than average. If it's 85, it's 15% cheaper. This number covers all the big stuff: housing, food, transportation, you name it.
So, where does your money buy you the least? This probably won't be a huge shock to many of you. Hawaii is just in a league of its own, a staggering 82% more expensive than the US average. And of course, Massachusetts and California are way up there too, mostly because of insane housing costs and other high expenses. Now, on the flip side, you've got the most affordable states: Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama. These places offer a serious discount on daily life. Your dollar just stretches so much further here. Now, you're going to want to keep these states in mind as we put all the pieces together. And now it's time for the payoff: finding your true purchasing power. We're going to combine these two powerful forces, taxes and cost of living, to find out what your salary is actually worth. The math here is actually pretty straightforward. You just take your net pay, what's left after Uncle Sam and the state take their shares, and then you adjust it for how expensive it is to live there. This gives us a single number that shows what your income feels like if you were living in a place with a totally average cost of living. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. Just look at this. Washington is a no-income tax state, which sounds great, but it's so expensive to live there that your $100,000 salary effectively feels like about $70,000. Now compare that to Alabama. It has a state income tax, but its cost of living is so low that your salary feels like over $84,000. That is a $14,000 difference in real purchasing power. This is exactly why you can't just look at taxes. All right, now that we have the formula, it is time for the final verdict. After all the number crunching, where does a $100,000 salary shrink the most, and where does it give you the most freedom? Let's start at the very, very bottom. In the state of Hawaii, after you factor in high taxes and the nation's highest cost of living, a $100,000 salary has the purchasing power of less than $40,000. That is a shocking drop of more than 60%. Following right behind Hawaii are some other familiar faces. Massachusetts and California both effectively cut your six-figure salary in half. But notice something interesting. Alaska, a no-income tax state, is on this list. Why? Because the cost of living there is so ridiculously high, it completely wipes out any of the tax savings. To put this in real world terms, just think about housing. In a place like California, your take home pay might just barely cover the rent on a modest apartment. But in a low cost state like Texas, that same salary could mean a mortgage on a spacious home, with money left over to actually invest. We're talking about a profoundly different lifestyle.
So who are the winners? Well, it is a clean sweep for the South and the Midwest. Tennessee takes the #1 spot. With no state income tax and a low cost of living, your $100,000 salary there feels like over $87,000. These are the states where a six-figure income can truly give you a comfortable, maybe even prosperous life.
Okay, so let's talk about making your money work for you. Because the big takeaway here is that understanding these numbers really empowers you to make smarter decisions for your career and for your life. If you've got the flexibility, especially with remote work becoming so common, a strategic move could literally be the equivalent of getting a massive raise. But hey, even if you can't move, you can still optimize. Max out those tax-advantaged retirement and health accounts to lower your taxable income. And always budget for hidden costs like sales and property tax. And if you do find yourself in a low-cost state, use that extra cash flow to build a real wealth through investing. Ultimately, a salary is just a number on a piece of paper. Its real value depends completely on where you choose to earn it and spend it. And a smart choice could mean the difference between just getting by and truly thriving. So the question for you is, what would you do with this information? Thanks for tuning in.